used tongs to pick up the Polish and stuffed it in a hot dog bun. Onions, pickles, and hot mustard made the meat disappear. A store special offered the drink for an extra 50 cents. He tugged a large blue cup from the stack, set it under the dispenser, and was generous with the ice. The Diet Pepsi was sputtering with air, so he added regular Pepsi to fill the cup. At least the plastic lid fit. He tucked a straw in his pocket. The clerk rang up the items. Stephen added a newspaper to the stack. "It's a bad night for driving. They're saying this rain will get worse before it gets better." Stephen pulled bills from his wallet. "At least there's less traffic." He pulled change from his shirt pocket, and as he did so, green M&Ms tumbled into his hand. For a moment, Stephen simply looked at them. He rubbed his thumb across the chocolates, turning two of them over. Anne's son, Nathan, had been sitting on his lap after dinner, having M&Ms for dessert. The child provided a welcome distraction from the solemnity of the funeral meal. Nathan had picked out the blue ones for himself and shared the green. Stephen hadn't even realized. "You're so precious, little man." Stephen slipped the M&Ms back in his pocket. Jennifer would have been pleased to know that Anne had brought her two children to join the dinner. It was a meal where the boys had to be on their best behavior, but they didn't grasp, nor should they, the reality of death and the loss it brought. That empty chair at the table where Jennifer had once sat haunted Stephen through the meal. The boys' presence had indeed been a welcome distraction. Life went on. He took the receipt and nodded his thanks. Wind whipped the bag as he stepped outside. He turned his shoulder into it and walked to his car. He tossed a roll of paper towels on his jacket in the back seat. The emergency medical services patch on the left sleeve had come up in one corner, and the EMS logo on the back of the jacket was encircled with fluorescent orange tape rubbed nearly through in spots. He grabbed the jacket out of habit rather than need. The leave of absence from his paramedic job was open-ended. His boss avoided accepting his resignation, and Stephen had conceded the theoretical possibility that he'd change his mind. He'd spent a lifetime rescuing people. The last few months had left him with a certain knowledge that he couldn't carry the weight anymore. He didn't want his pager going off. He didn't want to face another person injured, bleeding, and trying not to die. Stephen was done with it. The profession that had been his career for the last decade no longer appealed to him. He parked near the exit so he could note down the gas, mileage, and date. Where was he going? He picked up the map, studying it in the dim overhead light. He was driving north, with no particular plan except to be out of the state by morning. He just needed some space. The decision had been coming for years. What would his family be saying right now? "He's hurting. Give him space. Let's call him tomorrow." Kate had nearly strangled him when she asked him not to go, or to at least let her come along as navigator, as if she could navigate any better than he could. Outside the city, she was notorious for getting lost. He smiled as he chose the road he'd take, then folded the map. If it wasn't for the fact she was married, he would have said yes, just for the pleasure of her company. The bond between the seven O'Malleys went deep. At the orphanage where they'd first met, family was non-existent. They had chosen to become their own family and decided on the last name, O'Malley. Now, with Jennifer's death, there was an undercurrent of fear that the bond between them would change in unpredictable ways, would not hold. Maybe he was the first sign that it was breaking. He was 30 minutes away from family and already wondered what he was doing. He rubbed the back of his neck. He could turn around and go back. His family wouldn't pry that much. They'd just swallow him back into their fold and do everything they could to try to help him. He couldn't go back. He loved the O'Malleys. He just didn't think he could handle being around them for the next few months. He was the odd man out. They were all couples now, and he was still unattached. They had all recently come to believe in God, and he didn't want to explore the matter. They said